Welcome back to Sunday Vibes, one and all. As you can tell, we are back in the Phoenix pub. It's the old school lineup from Chris, me and Patrick Van Straten. Unfortunately, I forgot my microphone today, so I'm on this wonderful piece of kit here. A bit
You're
of a
using
howler.
a coffee cup.
My bad, using a coffee cup as a microphone today. How are we, lads? Good?
Yeah, all good, man. We're running a string from that into the homes of every FD listener.
Yeah, we are. Put it to your ear in the next 10 minutes and you might get some audio. How are you?
I'm excellent, thank you, mate. Looking forward to Celtic versus Rangers today.
How many
3
times have we seen that this season?
On Viaplay.
Yeah. How many times is this the 13th, 14th?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big game nonetheless.
Huge.
So Hammer will be watching that. Anyway, let's talk about some Premier League football because we are coming towards the end of February, and before the World Cup, we did quite a lot of what the last month of Premier League action has taught us. You guys at home seem to enjoy them as well, so we thought we would do that it's almost like the post-World Cup period, isn't it? It's February, but also the post-World Cup period, because there's been some big moments, been some big positives and some big negatives for an awful lot of teams. So we're going to crunch through as many of the sides as we possibly can over the next hour or so. All right, first and foremost, Manchester United. I've got written down in front of me here, this is not posed by Joe Tomlinson. Are United in a title race?
I don't think they are. Which is not a criticism. The only reason that we're saying that is because some fans, I think, are getting a bit ahead of themselves and saying that they are. And I think that that's kind of doing United a disservice. Because, look, they've been really good since Boxing Day. And when this goes out, it'll be exactly 2 months since Boxing Day. In that time, I think they've played 10 Premier League games. They've got 7 wins, 2 draws and a loss. The loss was against Arsenal away, no shame in that.
Yeah.
And they've overall been extremely impressive. I don't think anyone's scored more goals than them in the Prem. No one's taken more points than them in the Prem. But it has been a pretty soft run. Except for the City and the Arsenal games, it's been quite an easy run. They've played Leicester twice, they've played Palace twice.
Leeds twice.
Oh, Leeds twice, not Leicester, yeah. And they've also played Leicester and Bournemouth and a bunch of relatively easy teams. But you can only beat what's in front of you, and it's been a good run to get Rashford into pretty much the form of his life. It looks like the Weghorst signing has really got the attack functioning well. Given that he hasn't had goal output himself,
yes, preach.
His effect on the attack has still been transformative. The Leicester game, for example, the way that Leicester's defence got sucked higher and higher and higher and higher, to me, that's a testament to the gravity of a guy like Weghorst, which then creates space for the wingers to get in behind, which is clearly what United want. This is a system where Rashford is intended to get the big chances, Bruno's intended to find him, and that's working right now, so you can't criticise that. But the betting markets still have United at an under 7% chance of a title. And that's because their form, as good as it's been, has not been as good as Arsenal's form over the season or City's form over the season. It's been a relatively short run with relatively easy opposition. The schedule gets a lot harder from here.
Yeah, it does.
There are fragilities in the squad. We've noted the way that United's performances notably deteriorate in the absence of Casemiro.
Yeah.
Clearly, if Rashford got injured, that would be a problem. Though you can also argue, Sancho coming back, there are edges to be discovered here. But I just think that fundamentally, their best football this season has not been as good as the best football of Arsenal. City have played pretty terribly by their standards and are still ahead of United and in touching distance of Arsenal, could easily win the title. Basically, I kind of crunched the numbers on this and worked out that if United play at the same point pace that they have done since Christmas for the rest of the season, they'd end up on 81 points. I don't think that's going to be enough to win the league this year. It wouldn't be enough to win the league in the year that Leicester won the league. So I think that let's pump the brakes on this. And my kind of advice as an Arsenal fan as well is don't put pressure on the project halfway through the first year of the project. Ten Hag has massively outperformed expectations, not only on the pitch in the way that the team are kind of adapting to his needs and the way that he's improved the performances of Dalot, of Shaw, of Rashford. Yeah. Not just in those senses, but also in the way that he's got the fans buying into the project. He's got people talking about the way that they're playing. He's got a sense of excitement around the club. He's done all those things in the first year, and United are going to end this year with Champions League football. For a first year of a project, I think that's phenomenal. I think talking about a title is just setting yourself up for disappointment, when actually there should be no feeling at the end of this season for United except delight and excitement about what comes next.
You getting the table tap in there early doors. Cross that off your Sunday
I don't
Live
have
bingo
to, I don't have
card.
to worry about it too much because I haven't got a microphone today. But yeah, I agree with Pat. I don't think Man United are in the title race as things stand. I think the biggest drawback for them is the fighting on four fronts. Obviously, one front will be over this Sunday. Win or lose against Newcastle, there's no more games in the League Cup, so that then drops to 3. But United probably are the second best team in the Europa League behind Arsenal. You would expect Man United to go very deep into that competition. They can't meet Arsenal until at least the quarterfinals, and even then it's unlikely that those two get drawn together. The FA Cup as well, you would probably say Manchester United are favourites behind Man City still in it. I think Man City are still in it after beating you, so probably Man City favourites then United. So in both the competitions outside the Premier League, United stand a very, very strong chance of getting to the final. I think if you put that out in fixtures across the second half of the season, I just don't think United have the squad depth to cope with a 3-tier fight. It's going to be very, very difficult. I think Erik ten Hag has massively overperformed. Given that United put up the worst season in Premier League history last year and had massive mental fragilities throughout the team.
58 points, wasn't it, last year?
Yeah, I think, what are we, 9 points off that at this stage of the season already. So you can see the job he's done, and I think it's very, very obvious that Man United have got the right guy in charge here. But for me, the squad isn't deep enough to challenge for a Premier League title, despite the fact they have probably been, points-wise, the best team in the league since Christmas. I still don't think they're as good as Arsenal, and I don't think they're as good as City. So I think United to finish third, maybe to win a cup on Sunday, and to go deep in one of the other two competitions, I think would be an amazing season.
To finish on 81 points, like Pat projected a minute ago, I mean, you would have finished third last season, right? And Chelsea finished third, I think. So to swap places with them, essentially, particularly given the start you had, every United fan would have bit your hand off, wouldn't they, to be in this place come February. I mean, you're 18 points ahead of Chelsea, 14 points ahead of Liverpool, 8 points ahead of Newcastle now. And I know there's some of those teams have games in hand, even 2 games in hand in Liverpool's case. But you're on a great run. And February wasn't that clear-cut, was it? If we're just talking about the last month of Premier League football.
We looked a bit tired, I thought.
Yeah, I thought you were unlucky not to get 3 points against Leeds in that first header when it finished 2-2, but Leeds at Ellen Road gave you a run for your money and actually outscored you on XG. I think it was 1.9 to 1.3 in Leeds' favour. You ended up winning that game 2-0, so maybe a little bit of luck there.
But then United got unlucky in the other Leeds game, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And unlucky against Palace, where at least it's
so
40
yards.
Like
I said,
got lucky against Arsenal.
A little bit unlucky at home.
To be close.
I mean, Leicester were the better team in the first half, I would argue, despite the fact you blew them away in the second half. Some great sort of
Seriously blew them
in-game
away.
tweaks, and it's a good game management there. The only concern would be an injury to Marcus Rashford, right? In February alone, 6 goals. The next highest goal scorers, Fred and Sancho on 2. This is all competitions, by the by. And then Garnacho, Bruno, Martial and Anthony have 1. So that's a good barometer.
So I think if he was to drop out, I think Ten Hag is a good enough coach to find an adaptation to the system that would then produce goals from other teams.
If Martial was really fit, yes. But in his absence, a far kind of weaker prospect. But you can say that for a lot of teams about losing their best player. Although I do think it would hit you the hardest if we're looking at teams in the top 6. So if you can keep him fit, a convincing third, a trophy win, like you said, and deep in cup competitions, I don't think you can ask for any more from Ten Hag.
Should we say before we go on to whichever the next team is?
Newcastle is the next team.
What do we think about the EFL Cup? What do you think is going to happen? Because I think United will win. I think they're better, and I think they're in a better moment, as we're about to say with Newcastle. I think the absence of Pope is a serious problem because Pope has arguably been Newcastle's best player this season. I don't think that's ridiculous to say.
Bruno Guimaraes coming back is going to help them.
But Casemiro comes back for his first game as well. That one.
This should actually be a really good game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really close. I think this is the sort of tie that kind of suits the way Eddie Howe's built this Newcastle team to play, in that they are going to be extremely hard to break down. The crowd is going to play a massive factor because obviously they are going to be so up for it, the Newcastle fans, and that will transmit itself to the players. So I think if United can stave off the first half an hour without getting into too many difficulties, because Newcastle are going to come out of the traps 100 miles an hour, then I think United will grow into the game.
Basically what happened against Leicester, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we've seen that happen a lot of times with United this season, where they've been much worse in the first half, and the second half have been exceptional. Even against Barcelona midweek, I thought we were poor in the first half. Second half, a few tactical tweaks from Ten Hag, which he's done brilliantly throughout the season. I think he's had more goals from substitutes than any team in Europe's top 5 leagues this season. I think 19 subs have scored for him. I think United have the effect off the bench to win the game. I can see it going penalties, honestly. I think it's going to be really evenly matched. I can see it going to penalties.
I think Guimaraes returning is bigger than Pope missing out in many ways, because Newcastle's defence is still great. The goals have dried up of late, but their defence has remained pretty watertight. So I think they can probably cope with having, an okay shot stopper what's his name? Loris Karius in goal. More so than continue without Bruno Guimaraes keeping things ticking over in midfield, because we've seen in his absence that Joe Willock has been a vastly inferior sort of proposition going forward. Longstaff has deputised okay.
You don't want him playing.
Yeah,
really.
Exactly. I think he grabbed himself an assistant, a couple of assists in the last month or so. Joel Linton has been okay, but they've just really struggled while dominating possession to kind of break down deep blocks or shuttle the ball into dangerous areas quickly. With him returning, I do think United and Casemiro have to keep one eye on that.
I think 1-1 penalty shootout.
But I think you'll win 2-0, 2-1.
Yeah. Though I do think, if we're going to go on to Newcastle,
we are.
Newcastle are obviously in this little cold streak right now, but I think they have been a bit unlucky with that. So their points tally is not bad at all, really. They've been unlucky. They've only scored 3 since New Year's Eve. They've scored 3 goals. They've conceded 4. But XG suggests you would have expected them to score about 12 and concede 8. So a +4 goal difference instead of a -1. So I do think they've been a little bit unlucky not to make the breakthrough in some of those games. You've seen them create chances, not least in the Liverpool match, down 10 men, creating huge chances. And the thing is, I don't think United will be so naive that they're going to push up in that way and leave all that space for Saint-Maximin, for Almiron, for Gordon to run into.
I actually think that was their best performance of the last month. Again, bringing it back
really
to
impressive,
the theme
especially with 10 men
of this episode. Yeah, and at one point they had Isaac Hayden on, Matt Ritchie, Longstaff, players who aren't top 6 players, basically, and they were still dominating the game from a possession perspective. I know Jota had some very clear-cut chances at the end, which sort of balanced things out XG-wise, but I think Edgerton actually had more shots than them, despite going down to 10 men after 22 minutes. So it was a really fantastic game plan, efforts, in-game tweaks from Eddie Howe. But against Palace, West Ham, Bournemouth, I thought they should have taken all 3 points against Palace. West Ham and Bournemouth, bit more 50-50. And that is, again, without Guimaraes. I thought their midfield, the composition of their midfield was all off. They just weren't getting into dangerous areas, and their attack has bottomed out as a result. So him returning, absolute game changer, does change the dynamic of the EFL Cup. I can't overstate how much I love him. So
do we think the last month then, has that changed our opinions on top 4 predictions that we made? Did we make them at Christmas or the first week back after Christmas? We talked about the second half of the season.
I think I still had them 5th.
Yeah, I had Tottenham in my top 4.
And now Tottenham are 4th.
Yeah.
Or at least they were at the time of recording.
Did you have Newcastle staying in there?
I think I did, yeah.
Were you stick by that, or?
I still think they are better than Spurs, but now they are out of the top 4, it is a bit of a worry. And yeah, they are always kind of an injury away from being in serious trouble. However, EFL Cup over after this weekend, I think that'll be a bit helpful. And I do think they're better than they're currently playing, so I'll stick with them for now. I think they deserve it as well. Across the season, they've been better than Spurs.
And Bentancur till November is an absolute that must be a serious knee injury.
What do you boys think, finishing top 4 or winning the EFL Cup?
They would take the cup.
Yeah, of course. We can be a bit more we can be a bit more objective about it, but
68 years I think since they were last. I mean, they've won the Intertoto and the championship.
Yeah, their last major silverware was the FA Cup in 1955.
I think if you asked Newcastle fans, they would pretty much unanimously say the cup, because you would have to say that they are likely to get back into the top 4 quite quickly, whereas
I don't know. I mean, Chelsea are going to continue to invest. Liverpool won't be this bad next season. Spurs will add some money. Arsenal make some signings. City are not going to do this again, run this back again. United are obviously going to kick on. I think it's going to be a really tough battle. But Newcastle showed last summer that they were capable of getting a really high quality of player without being in the Champions League.
Yeah.
They got Botman, who Milan wanted. They got Isak, who's been linked to every big club. Obviously, they got Bruno Guimaraes last January. They managed to make these signings without European football. So we've seen that they are capable of finding edges in the market without having that draw. So from that point of view, you could argue that being in the Champions League maybe slightly helps their recruitment drive, but they can also recruit well without it. Whereas winning that trophy rather, is a kind of transformative. It's like a watershed moment for the club.
And this season, winning the EFL Cup obviously gets you into the Conference League.
Yeah.
So even if they do slip into 6th, 7th, because Brighton are hounding them down and sort of usurp them, they still get European football, and to be in that competition next year still represents real progress.
I can't see them finishing outside the Conference League spots. That's 7th place, isn't it? So I think they'd have to finish 8th not to finish in the Conference League.
A league position doesn't get you Conference League football this season, does
but
it?
it will
Unless,
because Man United and Newcastle are in there. If they obviously Man United won then the Conference League would then drop to the 7th place team, and I can't see them finishing 8th for Newcastle. That'd be a crazy drop.
I also think minimum they'll
I
get
think
you
like
right
5th or 6th. Yeah.
Let's talk about the teams that are in 6th and 7th at the moment. Fulham and Brighton. I think we have to talk about the staying power. Yeah, because it is quite incredible, isn't it? I mean, we obviously, we were talking about this before the show started. Fulham's quite remarkable overperformance in terms of expected goals against, where I think there's about a 15 goal swing there, isn't it? And obviously, largely down to some brilliant work by Bernd Leno, who I think has maybe been one of the signings of the season for like £8 million or £10 million. Massively underrated goalkeeper.
So the third highest performing goalkeeper versus,
by post-shot expected goals, Bernd Leno. And he's been phenomenal for
behind
them.
Alisson and Pope, I imagine?
No, Alisson,
Kepa,
he's overtaken Pope now. Alisson and Kepa.
Yeah, I think Kepa. But
Alisson's on like plus 10.
they played each other at the weekend, didn't they? And obviously Fulham won, yes. But I think, you saw in that game that Brighton are still, I know that they had a classic Brighton performance. I think they outshot them 21-7, didn't they? Massive underperformance in terms of expected goals yet again.
Throwback to the Potter era.
Yeah, it was a throwback to the Potter era. But my God, Brighton are a good team, man. They are a seriously good team. Are they outside contenders for the top 4?
Well, if they win
their games in hand. They're in there.
I was about to say, if they win their games in hand, they're only 1 point behind Spurs. And they should have taken all 3 points against Fulham. I think had 21 shots to 5.
Robbed against Palace by a goal that should have counted. And PGMOL got it wrong and have admitted to getting it wrong.
I think Fulham had 2 shots on target in that game. So going for a little bit of a sticky patch, but still by the underlying numbers, the better side in those games.
Yeah.
So I think this, despite their league difference being very league position being very close, this game did show everyone there was a stark contrast between the overall quality of both sides and maybe the potential of both sides as well.
But then we all said Fulham were going down. I said Fulham were going down at the start of the season.
For sure. I do think Fulham are going to have a little tumble at some point in the season. You'd imagine those numbers are going to catch up with them. Bernd Leno can't keep on performing in the way that he is. So I imagine that if they finish around 10th, 11th, still an unreal season for them. But I think the more interesting part of this conversation is how high is Brighton's ceiling versus how far will Fulham tumble, because I don't think it's that significant, like I said. So, I mean, what is their limit that they can achieve this season?
I can't see them getting into top 4, but I think they are very legitimate top 6 contenders here.
I think
the Europa League spot is in the offing.
With a fair wind, 5th is possible. I wouldn't say it's likely. I think probably 6th is where I'd put them.
But we've seen Leicester and West Ham over the last 3 seasons cram into that 5th and 6th spot.
I know, but I just don't think, because they've got a points disadvantage, versus Newcastle and Spurs, I'm just not sure about it. And of course, they've been playing super well, but you don't know how robust they are if they suffer a key injury. You don't know, we've seen that they could not put the ball in the net this weekend. Okay, they were still dominant in the game, and you'd expect them to score, but they didn't. You don't really know what the knock-on effects of games like that are. I know that they've still got quite a few of the big sides to play. They've got to come to Arsenal. They've got to host City.
Host United.
I imagine they've got pretty much all the big sides left to play. So those are, and to be honest, Brighton like playing the big sides, but it's just really hard to predict. On quality of play, I think they're top 4 contenders. I just don't think it's going to happen. It's really interesting actually. If you look at the possession in the league, and obviously that's an imperfect measure, but it's a sign of dominance. And City are miles away, top. 65% of possession. And then there are 4 teams who are all around 59, and those are Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, and Brighton. And then there's a 6% drop to United on 53. That they do just dominate possession, they dominate territory, and they do it with, yes, they have some really good players, but they also have some players who like none of us would particularly think are like that exciting. Solly March is having an amazing season. So I don't know, it'd be interesting to see what happens if, say, March got injured or Mitoma got injured. That would be a real loss for them because he's clearly now their best player. I don't think that's particularly...
Can I say that?
Yeah, but it feels like Mitoma is the guy who creates something out of nothing. And then, you know, Ferguson's a big miss when he's not.
Ferguson looks a serious prospect, man. Physically, at his age, he seems so developed for a Premier League forward. That's 18 at that size. Yeah. He's a very real prospect.
It's been impressive his all-round game as well, watching highlights from the Premier League 2 and stuff. Like, he does remind me, and not to put him on a pedestal at this early stage of his career, but the way he drops in, the way he likes a raking crossfield pass, he does remind me a little bit of Harry Kane. It's almost like he's styled himself on Harry Kane. He's got that sort of like floppy ankle shot as well, like the variety of his finishing, so good. Like aerially so dominant as well. To be ready for the men's game in the top division, like at what 18, 19? Like, it is truly impressive.
How much is Chelsea going to offer for it?
Do you think we should have put Brentford in this list as well? Because obviously, you know, I feel like we're now so like used to Thomas Frank just smashing it out the park at Brentford and like making that team a top 8 side that we just Brentford are 8th again.
You say we're used to it, but a year ago, people were saying, oh, wow, maybe Thomas Frank should go. You know, they had like a run of 7 games or something without a win. You remember they had a really, really poor run in the middle of last season, and suddenly people were saying,
before
like,
the Ericsson signing, wasn't
I don't really know, like, what's going on with Brentford? Are they in serious trouble? And then they just came back to their numbers, continued to play the way they do, looked great again. I mean, with Brentford, the question is still, when is this Tony thing going to drop, and what's it going to be? But they just continue to be excellent, and they'll do exactly the same thing in the summer. But they're kind of like a spoiler team, aren't they? They're like a team who comes along and ruins another side's title challenge or run for the top 4.
I feel like some more people have come to the party for Brentford this season, as well as Tony, like Mbermo, Rico Henry. In games I've watched, he's always super impressive. Like, there's still the best to come from Keane Lewis Potter.
Ben Mee was a great pickup, wasn't he, in the summer? Ben Mee's been really good for them, man.
And one in 3 games, I think, Visser as well. It just looks unplayable.
Yeah. I think as well that, you know, Brentford's record against the big 6, which is just basically impeccable at this stage, just like proves that Thomas Frank, his ceiling for me is higher than Brentford. And I know we talk about like, is Tony potentially going to leave in the summer? And before this, we were talking about, is Tony a good fit for maybe Man United's striking needs in the summer? But like, how much longer can Brentford keep hold of Frank? Because
I'm having
Siri doesn't know.
Siri doesn't know. Because I feel like he's almost ready to like.
I think what
might into the next level of club
act in Brentford's favour there is the fact that they don't play sometimes a brand of football that is particularly pleasing on the eye. Like Graham Potter, he was coveted by Tottenham and Chelsea because they were playing superb football, and you know they got an awful lot of coverage in the press for that. Yeah, so because it can be quite direct, and he does like muddying things that maybe he's less desirable by the top dogs.
If Conte left in the summer, Frank would probably be one of my top 3 contenders to take charge of Tottenham Hotspur.
Yes,
and can Brentford like see off a desirable approach from Tottenham Hotspur? I think it could be a difficult one in the summer, but for now I think they are absolutely smashing.
Just before we move on, like to keep it the last month based, I mean, I think Paulinho deserves a shout out for Fulham. I think Willian also deserves a shout out. I know you've been singing his praises. Like,
I don't know what's happened. It's just like everything he hits goes in the back of the net.
I think it's 5 goal contributions in 15 starts, isn't it? So it's not massive.
Yeah, it's still only 5.
Yeah.
But they feel like massive goals. I don't know.
It was the Forest game, wasn't it, where he felt unplayable.
Yeah, and that is.
But Forest find a lot of teams unplayable.
Yeah.
Funny, and Brighton, when we said it, they're going through a bit of a Graham Potter throwback. 58 shots against Bournemouth, Brighton, and Fulham, and 2 goals. So they need to, if they have these top 5 aspirations, top 6 aspirations, they need to get out of that funk pretty quickly, don't they? But
I think in terms of funks, Crystal Palace are in one, aren't they? Or they have been since Christmas.
Good segue.
I mean, Palace were the
guy. What's going on there, man?
They were a team we were so excited about going into the season because obviously had a great year last year and brought in Doucouré in the summer. It looked like everything was kind of right there, but Olise hasn't quite kicked on. Their strikers have not really been at the races. I really rate Edouard. I really rate Mateta. Their underlying numbers are always good, but neither one has been impressive for them at all. I don't know what it is. I really don't know what's going on there. It just feels like something's off.
Zaha out of contract in the summer as well.
Sure.
You've got to try and convince him to stay because he is still an absolutely vital component to that front line. I feel like Eze and Elise haven't quite kicked on to the level we were hoping they would, both through injury and through a lack of form. Even like Joachim Andersen, he hasn't had the season I was expecting him to have. Opening day when he was playing against Arsenal and he was hitting them 80-yard diagonals 100 times.
You will never let that performance go.
I won't, because it was absolutely ridiculous. I feel like since then I haven't watched him and just gone. I haven't thought, wow, this is Andersen again.
Yeah, and I don't know. We looked at them at the start of the season. There were still some obvious areas for improvement. Like Jeffrey Schlupp was playing in the double pivot. We were like, they can upgrade on him. Although Decore, played really, really well in the midfield, so he sort of held things down in that regard. Right back, they're obviously playing Klein and Joel Ward still right. Tyreek Mitchell, very defence-minded left back. Always a very good defender, but. Maybe they can buy someone more attack-minded, switch things up, alter their game plan in various games when they're struggling for a goal or for creativity. I do worry about the composition of their midfield. It's changed quite a lot recently. We've seen them play. They played Will Hughes and Decore against Brighton.
And the weekend they played Sambu.
Yeah, they've played a 3 in there of Elise, Eze and Decore. Obviously Decore picking up all the defensive work there. And it does feel like they're just struggling for like the optimum XI at the moment. And just to go back to the strikers, like Mateta's numbers have been absolutely hounding. 1 goal in 761 minutes. Seemingly picked for his physicality, picked so Elise can find him with those wicked balls coming from the right hand side with his left foot, but no forward who's played more than 500 minutes in Premier League football this season has lost more aerial duels. He's lost around 65% of them, so I don't think that game plan's really working. He's taken quite a lot of shots this season. I think it's 3.1 his average at the moment. Very, very wasteful. But they've dried up in the last few games. 4 shots in his last 5 games, I think it is. So maybe time to try Edouard again. And I'm a fan of Edouard. I thought I said when he was at Celtic that he had a very high ceiling, but when I look at Palace, I'm like, Edouard, you should have gone to Brighton or a team that are going to work hard to create chances for you rather than expect you to be part of the unit that works hard. He just doesn't have that dog in him. I'm afraid, for a Palace team. And I mean, 5 goals in all comps, 1,200 minutes. It's not bad. But they need someone to stick the ball in the back of the net, man.
It's just not quite happening. It's
grim.
It's not quite happening for them. Another team that it happened for a bit, and then it's not quite happening again. Then it's happened, and then it's not. Liverpool, blowing very hot and cold, aren't they? I mean, there was a period, obviously, beating Everton, beating Newcastle at St James's, where it was Liverpool are favourites to the top 4, back on the roll. Here we go again, and then Madrid hits, and it's like. All the air just gets sucked out of the room. Everybody seems to be massively deflated. Liverpool fans are up in arms. And
that emotional instability is part of the problem at the moment, isn't it?
I think the midfield instability is the main problem, though.
I think the attack is a big problem as well.
Do you? I think the combination of that Gakpo and Darwin is starting to flourish.
No, but they just don't. Press. But it destabilises the whole team. The press does. That they do not press.
Yeah.
They try to, but it's not organised. And the way it was dovetailed before, it just meant that it was harder to get up the pitch against Liverpool. And now it feels like you break through and you're suddenly in space. We talked about this before we started here. A load of the highlights from the Real Madrid-Liverpool game are just Real Madrid breaking into space. And partially that's going to happen because you've got some of the best progressive passers in the world. You've got an amazing midfield runner in Valverde. You've got one of the best outlet players in the world in Vinicius Junior.
Press resistant guy ever.
Yeah, you've just got these guys who are capable of picking you apart on the break. But in the past, Liverpool do cut off some of those opportunities at the start, and now that doesn't happen. And that's why when people constantly say, "Oh, how can Robertson and Alexander-Arnold be so out of position? How can Fabinho be getting blown past in the midfield?" it's not just them. When you see a fullback who's out of position, 1 or 2 times a game, it's probably his fault. When you see fullbacks who are out of position the entire 90 minutes, that is a tactical issue. And I felt in that game like it was a tactical issue.
And unfortunately, this is happening at the same time as the legs in midfield deteriorating. So it's much more pronounced, right? So it's like a holistic thing. I feel with Liverpool, everyone's always looking for one guy, or it's Alexander Arnold's fault, it's Joe Gomez, it's Fabinho, and really the things that it could start with the things that Pat's talking about. It's that domino effect throughout the team, and a midfield with less legs, like more regularly exposed to turnovers and whatever, and it's just a recipe for disaster at the moment. I do think they'll be significantly better if Konate can put together any sort of fitness, and so he can
cover more ground.
It's just sit next to Van Dijk on the right hand side, offer Trent a little bit more protection. Obviously Trent can push forward a little bit more, that helps the creativity down that flank once more. But people are getting very hung up on Fabinho right now, and while I do think his drop off,
Gomez is getting torn to shreds,
and they deserve some criticism. It's not like we're saying they don't.
His drop off has been substantial, but he didn't feature in that battering by Wolves. He was average against Everton. They won 2-0. I thought he was one of their better players against Newcastle, despite the fact they were outplayed for most of that game.
A decent first half against Real Madrid.
He was just destroyed in transition against Real Madrid, wasn't he?
But no Thiago hurts. And then in the second half, Firmino came on late on. And yes, of course, Liverpool were looking for goals. But I also think part of that was we cannot build in possession. We're just losing it too easily. And we cannot counter-press. We need Firmino, who actually has the brains to do this. Because right now, Gakpo and Nunez are clearly not at the point yet where they understand what they need to do.
I agree, and I think that forward press and the midfield lack of legs is hurting the defence to such a level. I think they've conceded 17 more goals this season at this stage than last season.
1.34 per game,
which is crazy.
This season, it was 0.8 last season.
Yeah, that's an and this is with Alisson, who is still the best goalkeeper in the world. I think by post-shot expected goals, it's almost 3 times as many as the second person. I think Kepa's on 3 or 4, and then Nick Pope's on
I think it's twice as much
9.
as Kepa, maybe 3 as Leno,
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. Still the best 1v1 goalkeeper in the world.
It's him and Ter Stegen, I think, top 2.
Yeah, to be fair, Ter Stegen, I think he's at 90% save percentage, isn't it, in La Liga?
I've actually got some mad numbers in Alisson. So he's saved 26 big chances in the Premier League this season. Last season he faced 100 shots on target at a save percentage of 76%. This season he's already faced 100 shots on target and has a save percentage of 72%. So he saved a lot of big uns.
Where would Liverpool be if he wasn't overperforming?
But do you know what? I'm starting to see develop in his game, particularly in February, if we're talking about the last month again, a little bit of rashness. But I feel he feels he has to do something spectacular when his defence are failing him in certain games. Like against Real Madrid, he rushed out for that Benzema shot, made the angle much easier for Benzema. And I think had he had a competent defence in front of him for the last 2 or 3 months, he wouldn't have done that. He would have been slightly more composed. But he's in Super Saiyan mode now, and sometimes his decision making lets him down. A couple of odd passes we've seen over the last couple of weeks.
Man, that Vinicius second goal is so funny.
Yeah,
so not even a shot.
Just things I don't think are he does if the defence hasn't gone completely to.
Yeah, let's go to a team that's gone completely to West Ham.
Yeah.
What has gone on here?
Interested to get your opinion on this, because you were defending him a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
remarkable, man. The drop-off has been remarkable.
Well, it's because they did have a really grueling campaign last season, and I think that honestly a big part of it is not having Antonio as much. And to be honest, you've got to plan for that. They bought Scamacca specifically to plan for that, and he hasn't landed particularly well.
Injured, isn't he?
Which means I think you should have pushed Paqueta into the attack more and used him as more of a goal scorer.
I can't lie though, Scamacca not landing might be the most obvious thing to happen this season.
Okay, but he's still relatively young. You'd expect it, and if they'd had Antonio as available this season as he was last season, it would have been less of an issue.
Also,
if Bowen had been in form,
Why would you say that about Scamacca?
I think
because whenever a player arrives from abroad, he's just like, this
not
guy's
at all.
going to be
Because
crap.
first and foremost, Moyes loves Antonio to the point that he's undroppable. So Scamacca coming in at, what did he arrive for, £40 million?
Yeah, pretty much.
He's effectively coming in as a rotation at best with Mikel Antonio because they were never going to work together. Never saw that being a possibility. He's very young, very inexperienced at the top level, especially outside of Italy. He's got no experience.
He's not very young, he's 23.
Yeah, but his top level experience in Italy
I agree,
was
but 23 is not very young.
It took him a little bit while to get going.
Yeah, exactly. So when he arrived for £40 million, he was coming as a rotation / backup to Antonio to a league that is extremely physical when he's got no experience outside of Italy of coming in and being the main man, focal point up front.
Yeah, but you could have also said that means he wasn't going to be thrown in the deep end. He was
immediately miscategorised as a target man because he's a large unit, and West Ham fans are like, well, we've had our Antonio up there, we'll swap him out, put Scamacca up there, and we'll smash some balls into him and ask him to hold the ball up against Premier League defenders, bring everybody else into play, endlessly run the channels like Mikel Antonio does. And it's just a total misprofiling of what Scamacca was like in Italy. So...
but again, it's less of an issue if Bowen is performing at the level he was last season.
I agree.
It's less of an issue if Antonio is fit in the way he
was
was last season.
I feel sorry for Scamacca because I just don't. I think it was just a bizarre.
He had to make a contingency plan for Antonio because they were really dependent on Antonio, like you pointed out.
Yeah.
And his fitness wasn't exactly.
And now he signed Ings.
Consistent.
That was a desperation move.
Yeah, exactly. That was like, we need goals right now. I think they've scored, 19 in the Premier League this season? And the only teams with fewer, Forest, Everton and Wolves.
But where's the alignment there between going from Antonio to Scamacca to Ings? It's three totally different styles of striker.
One was like, in the long term, we are going to build towards Scamacca being our centre forward. Ings was, oh God. Like, we're in a disastrous situation and we need somebody who speaks English and quote unquote knows the league so that you can come in and Moyes can say, get up front. We're going to boot
I know, but if they're building for the
future,
then make a workable system that fits Scamacca. Don't just put Scamacca in the Antonio role.
There was flashes.
Exactly, but those flashes, especially in Europe actually, where in the Conference League, I thought Scamacca was much improved, came to life. When he was not up against such, physically demanding centre-backs where the ball's being hammered into him. And he scored some great goals this season. But I just think he's been misprofiled at West Ham as this like for Antonio and can just he's out, he's in, and it hasn't worked.
But then even taking all that into account, it would also be less of an issue if the defence hadn't been underperforming relative to, the way they've actually played. If they conceded kind of at the rate they deserved, if they'd scored at the rate they deserved, we would expect them to be mid-table, basically. And last season they slightly overperformed. This season they slightly underperformed. They had a really long campaign last season where all their key players basically played every minute, not least Declan Rice. So he hasn't really declined. I still think he's played very, very well.
He's just struggling with people around him, I think.
Yeah, sure. I don't know. I mean, part of this is what we've always known about Moyes, which is Moyes can get you to a certain level, but there is a ceiling on how good Moyes can be. At a certain level, you give Moyes more and more talent, he doesn't really make the team better and better in the way that a really good manager does. At a certain point, Moyes is like, no, I continue playing the same way. I think this team can be better than this, so long as they stay up. I mean, that would be crazy if they went down. But so long as they stay up...
They're not going to go down.
Exactly. So long as they stay up, I think that they will expect to have a better campaign next year.
And I do think Paqueta and Scamacca were the right sort of signings. Are they signings that, Moyes is going to be able to implement into a new system? It doesn't really feel like that is going to materialise. But you can kind of see the identity crisis in some of the players' post-match remarks as well. Two sixth-place finishes. They make big signings. They want to be a bigger club, be more dominant in games, and play a more progressive brand of football. Right? Rice, after the Tottenham defeat, was like, I don't know why we're playing three at the back, sort of thing, which is pretty cheeky.
He's right, isn't he?
No, but then Antonio on the flip side.
But that's a desperation thing because they're not getting the results. That's what happens.
I mean, Antonio was even more on the nose, saying we're trying to play like a big team and it's not working, sort of thing. So he clearly wants to revert, the style that served him well a year, 2 years ago, while you've got Rice who wants to be a little bit more forward thinking. So there's probably a divide in the squad as well between are we going to kick on or should we go back to?
Is it going to be the end of Rice, do you think, this summer?
It looks like it is going to be.
Yeah, all the noises he's made are about moving on to bigger and better, and he absolutely deserves it.
Yeah, he does, but he didn't write a release clause into his contract, so
Yeah, but there's also talk, isn't there, of kind of like gentleman's agreement, which I also always think is a bad idea. But I do think that probably they said to him last summer, we're getting one more year out of you and then you can go. It depends what the price is. It could be, people are saying, Arsenal want him, United want him, and talking about 70, 80 million. Well, you could imagine West Ham saying, well, that's not what we want 120 million. And then I think Arsenal will say no. I think United might even say no. And I think maybe Chelsea will be like,
120.
What was that you say?
How many years is that spread across?
Yeah, so I don't know. Those things are kind of interesting factors.
I think it is worth saying, we had a quick chat in the office about this, that, I mean, Moyes is allegedly not been sacked because of his contract rights pretty sizable. I think he's on £5 or £6 million a year. He's contracted until 2024. He obviously has enough credit in the bank to stave off a bad period, although that is quickly deteriorating. But there are good managers available in that second band of management.
Are there at the moment?
Like not very good elite managers, not a lot of elite managers going. But yeah, I think like Benitez, not Bielsa mid-season, we discussed this before, like Nuno Espirito Santo, Ralph Hasenhüttl,
Marcelino.
None of these names though.
No, but they're becoming increasingly viable, which is worrying for Moyes. So if they have another month,
well, what about the other rumour that's happened this week, which is that Pochettino would feasibly be interested in West Ham?
Oh, he would.
I don't really buy it. But he's been out of management for a while now.
No,
I mean, now if I were him, I might stick around and think maybe the Chelsea job will be going at some point.
Are we all saying that if Moyes has another month like he did in February,
the Milan job's going to be going
January,
at the end of the year,
it will be gone?
The Milan job's going to be going at the end of the year.
Moyes to Milan, is it?
No,
Poch
to Milan.
Do you think he's going to be gone though after another 3 or 4 bad results? Does it become totally untenable?
With the amount of talent available in the market, potentially.
Moyes is going to get to the end of the season.
Because the hierarchy
well.
at West Ham have got to be looking at teams around as well, thinking everyone's enjoyed a new manager bump. Obviously, Nathan Jones is gone. Southampton have been much improved since then. Wolverhampton have won 13 points out of a possible 24 since Lopetegui came in. They might feel that they can't.
So crap.
They can't afford to sit on the hands, sort of thing.
I think.
Dyche.
I think. What was the stat? It was something like.
What a guy.
I think it was either this season or it might even be in the last 18 months. A striker has only scored 1 goal for Wolves, like between like Costa, Cunha. Who else have they?
Raul
Jimenez. I think only one Premier League goal.
About half an hour.
Yeah, I think only one Premier League goal has been scored by a Wolves striker in like the last maybe like 18 months or definitely this season. It's unbelievable.
But Lopetegui,
they're like that year too.
They were bottom at one point, right, or second bottom, and he steered them to safety.
I think they were bottom when he came in.
Unfortunately for West Ham, the worst teams have got better.
What do we think about, while we're on the topic down here, I mean, Dyche, we should probably mention Dyche, shouldn't we? Because
Can you read the full sub-end that I've put down, please?
You have put Dyche miracles, brackets, can Celes do the same? I mean, we say Dyche miracles and certainly 2 fantastic home results, and like back end of last season where, Goodison Park effectively pulled Everton through games with the atmosphere and the cauldron they can make it. I still like against Liverpool. They were absolutely horrendous.
Yeah, but that's going to happen. Like they are still a relegation threatened team.
I agree.
Like you don't expect Dyche to come in and make them a mid-table
do you think
side.
Dyche now? Do you think then that Dyche's arrival now means they're safe?
No, you're never safe until you're safe.
I know.
But to get 6 points out of 9.
9 is fantastic.
Yeah,
like,
especially against Arsenal.
There's been a clear turning point, hasn't there?
And deserved points. Like against Arsenal, comfortably the better side. Comfortably, no doubt about it. Like to do that is great. They go away to Arsenal next week. That'll be an interesting one. That's an interesting game in hand for them.
Dwight McNeil slinging 1,000 crosses in.
Yeah, it genuinely is like
not just
artillery.
the results. It's not just the results. It is the numbers he's getting from them, the underlying numbers he's getting from them so quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think just to go back to what you're saying about McNeil crossing, he was averaging 3 a game under Lampard. That's already been bumped up to 10 a game under Dyche.
Standard.
He's brought the Corey back to great effect. Is that the Corey?
Alien arrival.
Yeah, who's been great in the midfield. He's shored up that midfield, and
Onana's been really useful.
But
the plan for Onana.
I think people, don't give him enough credit for how good he is at certain things. Sean Dyche, like they made 10 high turnovers last Saturday against Leeds, and they had a passes per defensive action, PPDA, of 10.4.
That's pretty good.
But before that, their passes per defensive action, so how active they are outside of their own third, shutting down attacking moves, was 16, their season average.
Yeah, under Lampard, who is actually a pressing coach historically.
Yeah,
Or tries to be.
He was at Derby. He was a successful pressing coach.
So
at
not just their application, which people would give Dyche credit for normally, because he's hard running and so on and so forth. But the way they're doing it is really effective, and that spells an absolute for people like Moyes.
Onana, Fellaini.
What do we think
That's
about the news today? I think it's quite interesting that Pickford has signed a new 5-year contract at the club.
All right.
I think that's a brave call by Jordan Pickford.
I mean,
it's got a relegation clause in it, hasn't it?
Oh, has it?
Yeah.
And he's got a really nice pay packet.
I think I didn't realise.
Isn't he on like 100k plus a week?
I think it was 120.
Because if there was no relegation release clause,
I don't know why I know so much about Pickford.
But equally,
I don't think you get better money than that if you're Pickford at a bigger club.
I think you could go to Tottenham and get more money than that.
Really? You think they pay him more than that?
I think
when they have to pay a transfer fee as well.
If Hugo Lloris was to leave in the summer, I think Pickford would be among the top candidates for that role.
I think that it's quite hard as a keeper of Jordan Pickford's standards to get more than 120, 130k a week. That is very good pay for the quality of player.
In a similar ballpark at a much better team. Like I think he could do a
maybe,
job at
but if they have to pay a transfer fee, I think clubs are getting smarter now about saying if we have to pay a transfer fee, why are we going to give you that money? Whereas Everton are like, Jesus, if you go, we're going to have to go and buy a keeper. We're going to have to pay him 60, 70. We're just going to give you 120.
No, I do know what you mean. Although he might get a big signing bonus. I just think that he could have. I don't know. I just feel like he could have taken a step up there, Pickford. I think it's quite a big decision. It's obviously he lives and breathes Everton, obviously, but
might be some trust issues with bigger clubs as well, because he's always on the cusp of like being a bigger club player and then does something.
What do you think about Ruben Selles? The decision to appoint him for the next 6 months.
I thought when you sent me his name, I thought it was a autocorrect.
No,
so
I don't know.
Can you feel me?
I mean, Southampton fans clearly love him, and the players clearly love him.
Where's he come from? Was he part of the coaching setup?
So what do you mean they love him? How long has he been there?
He's been there a while, I think. I think he was part of the coaching setup.
Okay, right, fine.
Right.
I thought you were just like I thought he just arrived yesterday.
Comments might correct me on this, but I think he was part of the coaching setup at Southampton. He's definitely had coaching experience in the past. He definitely he holds his UEFA pro license and stuff.
I assume so.
Azerbaijan and Denmark and stuff.
Jesus.
He was the Valencia either assistant manager or B team manager.
Are you telling me they've gone back to playing Hasenhüttl football? But
that's what they did under Jones.
Not under Hasenhüttl.
That's what they did under Jones.
But I don't think we know exactly how Selles is going to set up. Obviously, he got an amazing result in his first game away at Chelsea. But it's great for Chelsea.
Bit lucky to get that result.
Yeah, of course, and you have to ride your luck as Southampton to get an away win at the Bridge, don't you? But I mean, the players really like it. Like James Ward-Prowse's post-match interview against Southampton, I think was against Chelsea. Was pretty telling. Like. That when he was like, we all love Selles, like he's come in this week has been like massive boost to have him in charge. Like if your captain and your most senior player is saying this sort of stuff, I think effectively the players have probably gotten that role, and the lack of options in the market. So
yeah, fair enough. They need the atmosphere, don't they?
They need the players pulling in one direction.
They need intangibles to save them at this point.
Truly,
they do because they're not good enough at the moment.
And they made signings, like those players. They can start getting something out of those as well. Like they did make signings.
I think they had one of the best Januaries in Europe's top 5 leagues. Genuinely, I really like that.
That is a tifo take if ever I've heard it. It's just like they signed a bunch of guys you've never heard of. They've had the best January.
Maybe I'll leave for tifo.
Well, they got Orsic.
So long.
They got Orsic. They got a guy in who's got no feet.
Sulemana.
Poor
Sulemana has looked good.
Sulemana does look good.
Yeah, suck it.
But the best.
Let's calm down.
In January, best January of Stuart Harvey, I think is a big shout, mate.
If Ward-Prowse gets relegated from the Prem, 1 free kick short of Beckham's record.
Mate,
he's going to be so sad.
He get picked up.
He'll go to
There's no way Ward-Prowse is playing that. West Ham, Wright's replacement. Let's talk about Leeds then, because they've gone for Grazia. What do we think about that selection decision?
Yeah. Very little. He was out in Al Hilal. Don't know about the job he did out there. Obviously had a win percentage of under 30% at Valencia beforehand.
But who does well at Valencia? Very few.
Bordalas has done okay. Gattuso did okay. Marcelino, who we've mentioned before, was really, really good. But yeah, doing well at Valencia is getting increasingly harder, right, under Liam and with all the fan noise. And so won't hold him to bang to rights there, but he was okay at Watford.
I mean, to last as long as he did at Watford is no mean feat.
What is it, like 2 years at Watford is like 10 years at any other club,
yeah,
right?
And also, if you looked at his record at Watford, it was absolutely horrendous against teams in the top 7. And then the teams outside the top 7, he actually had a really good record against.
That's been like Fulham this season.
That is basically what Leeds need. Leeds just need to concentrate. Don't worry about beating Man City's and Liverpool's across the second half of the season. Just beat the teams that are around you, and you can stay in this division. If they can pick up results against the teams in the bottom 5 over the next 3 months, then they stand a very good chance of staying in the division.
And you think that's why they've gone for Gracia?
Yeah. The only thing I will say is that it's not the sort of appointment that excites the fans. Does Javi Gracia's arrival get Ellen Road rocking?
But I think Ellen Road always rocks at least a little bit anyway.
It does, especially.
And if they get a couple of results, that'll be enough. I think the fans there will know that they've got to kind of power this team.
The squad is easily good enough to stay in the league.
The squad's really good. I actually think a manager who can put together a relatively conservative defence. We always talk about, who's going to get the goals and stuff, but they have got enough of talent in attack, I think. They've needed a guy who can just shore up the defence for quite a while. So if you can play kind of Andre Villas-Boas kind of football where you're like, right, I sort out the defence and to some degree the attackers have to take care of it themselves. There should be enough of the movements drilled into them after years of Bielsa and Jesse Marsch that you would hope they can do enough there, because the defence has just been too porous for too long.
Yeah. It's going to be a really interesting
I want them to stay up. I really want Leeds to stay up. I think they're a positive team that I like having in the Prem.
Okay. I would like to see them go down.
Well, that is less surprising.
We've got time for maybe one quickfire question, one personal. So, Brantsco on Discord, link in the description below, says, what do we think of Kvaradona's ceiling? What's his ceiling? How high can he play?
How would we possibly know that?
He's probably the most exciting player to watch in Europe, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's one of them.
Should we talk about that Napoli squad in its entirety? I don't want to move on from Kvaradona, we'll come back to him, but we were talking about Osimhen beforehand as well.
Yeah.
Do we think he moves on in the summer as well as Kvaradona? No.
I
just priced out of a move?
I think he's getting priced out of a move. I think he's a fabulous player. But yeah, Napoli are going to win the league by miles. They're building an exciting team, and they're just going to go, what? Madrid went for 100. We want 200. It's just going to be an absolutely insane price to get Osimhen.
It's really hard to get out of Napoli.
How much did they pay for it? They paid 70 mil, even though it's slightly, that deal is under the microscope big time, isn't it? But they paid 70, let's say, in the books anyway, and they're going to want 150 mil.
And they're a huge club. And
I don't see anyone paying 150
And if you're a star for Napoli, especially if they win the league after a long time without one, then you are a god. It is one of the best places in the world to be one of the stars of the team. I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but
Mediterranean. I meant more so than
But it's
I think I don't
know.
He'll be unsignable. I think Kvaradona will be unsignable because he'll be at another 100. I think Kim Min-jae, the centre half,
he's got a buyout.
Has a buyout clause that I think is active for the first month at 25 mil or 30 mil.
I thought it was 40.
Oh, really?
I thought it was 40,
so it might be a little bit
like
more. He is going to leave Napoli, I think. I think there's a lot of teams looking for centre-backs. I think, Tottenham will be very interested in him in the summer. I think some of the teams in Spain,
United have been linked with him.
United have been linked with him this week,
Harry Maguire trade-off.
I think I could see Kim Min-jae leaving, but I don't think Kvaradona's going to leave. Kvaradona could play for Real Madrid. He could play for Real Madrid, but the issue is a lot of the teams in Europe already have extremely high-level left wingers. Arsenal have got Martinelli. United have got Marcus Rashford who can play out there.
Kvaratskhelia doesn't have that pedigree yet that's going to convince a top team to pay what Napoli want for him. Is my initial thoughts. They're probably going to want 80 to 100 mil for him because of the form he's displayed this season, and he'll be a title winner. But I think they'll probably look at him and be like, okay, just to make sure you're not a flash in the pan before we pay this money, have a second season.
Especially because Leao might be available as well.
Yeah, exactly. The left winger market.
Record though, hasn't he? He's progressively scored more and more goals in Serie A, so that's why I think teams won't bulk at his fee as much.
I think only United are really in the market for a player of that's going to be that expensive in that position, and I don't think United are going to pay 150 million.
Spurs might be, especially if they were, for example, to let Harry Kane
There's
go.
no way they're going to do
need
150 mil, man.
But they're going to need somebody. And if they let Kane go, they are going to need to do something to appease the fans, and it's going to have to be like a 9-figure sign.
Like, even then, Osman, does he agree to drop down?
I agree. But the only issue there would be if there's something going on with the books, which means that Napoli maybe have to sell. Yeah. So, for example, if Napoli think maybe we can head off some of this investigation stuff by just selling this guy, that will not be the worst idea, because the last thing they'll want is to win the title and then get the title stripped. Jesus. But Kvaradona, Kvaratskhelia, he could easily be player of the season. I think he may well be player of the season in Italy, like Leao last year. At 21 years old, he looks like he has every physical ingredient as well.
Nobody needs a left winger. City, Grealish has come to the fore, Foden plays out there.
Long-term
Chelsea have just bought 100 million. Mudryk
doesn't really play that.
Tottenham are not going to buy Kvaradona. City, United have got Rashford thingy out there. Real Madrid got Vinicius.
I think Arsenal are going to be looking for a forward.
You've got Martinelli and Trossard.
I know, but Arsenal are going to be looking for a forward who can play like. No, I don't think Arsenal would get Kvaradona, but I think Spurs will be looking for someone. Arsenal will be looking for somebody. Maybe Bayern. Maybe
Bayern, but I just don't think.
Messi's contract's up. Maybe PSG do something.
Ooh, Neymar also being rapidly booted out the door, isn't it?
And very slow now.
Yeah, ankle injury coinciding with his sister's birthday yet again. But
it was a brutal
It was hardcore, yeah, it was. But equally,
when Mbappe doesn't play, PSG have no pace.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if Messi leaves this summer and they force Neymar out the door, maybe that could be an Osimhen project. That could be an Osimhen draw. And Mbappe finally gets to play off of, what did he call him? He wanted to play off of the pivot or whatever, off of Giroud, basically. He's going to play Mbappe and Osimhen up top. Maybe.
I would actually love to see that.
Okay, one personal question then from Colm. Favourite piece of technology you own?
Ooh. Wow.
This thing.
The ergonomic coffee flask.
A coffee flask, mate. I don't know.
Good.
My iPhone? At least I use it.
Yeah, I know, it's a bit basic, isn't it?
Coffee machine at home?
No.
I've invested in a proper one with the...
Have you?
Well, I got
and the milk frother.
Yeah.
Have you actually?
I need to send you that magnetic milk frother, man.
You do.
Incredible stuff.
You do, but
it's like a centrifuge. You put uranium in it.
They are quite elaborate. And I have found myself when I'm in a bit of a rush just making instant coffee, which is kind of... It defeats the whole object. But yeah, coffee machine.
I haven't got the room in my kitchen for one, man.
Tech. Do you have like a Garmin or an Apple Watch?
Yeah, I've got Garmin.
I want to buy one for golf because it gives you a yardage and it's spot on. So I want one of them.
Got a Casio.
A watch.
Cool.
Your favourite bit of tech is a watch.
Don't really play PlayStation. I don't know. I'm literally not out of my phone.
Nothing like work. You not got Alexa or?
No.
Yeah, we got Sonos and stuff, but Sonos really annoys me.
I don't trust the Alexas.
Disobedient.
Being watched.
Yeah, it's just been listened to. I like the idea of being listened to.
Is there not an app? Is there maybe an app that you would recommend?
FOTMob.
FOTMob.
Sponsor us.
I know of it.
No, WhatsApp I use.
Just Watch. I was talking to somebody about the other day.
Technology, man.
What are you talking about?
I don't use anything other than my phone and my laptop.
Have you heard of a toilet?
Is that technology? A toilet?
A pen.
These things aren't technology, are they? I don't like modern technology. I don't have any of these sort of gadgets in there. Although, if you want to send me some, I'm happy to do a post on my Instagram.
I like that wireless headphones are just like a thing now.
AirPods.
For years, we were like, when are they going to?
Shout, man.
I have these Cambridge ones. They're called like Cambridge Audio. Absolutely furious about that shout. And they're really, really good. I think that sort of thing, like the fact that a few years ago it was like, when is this technology actually going to get as good as we want it to be?
Yeah.
And it just is now, and we all forgot about it because that problem's been solved.
Yeah.
I do love it when my AirPods manually, like by themselves, connect to my laptop, connect to my phone.
Really good.
When they do that for me, I'm like...
That is exceptional. I agree. All right, so those were our favourite technologies, and that was Sunday Vibes for yet another week. If you enjoyed this episode, please do hit the like button. Send your suggestions on what you want us to talk about into the comments below on Discord and on Twitter. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. We'll see you later. Bye.